What's happening, guys? This is Mike at Mike's Total Dragon Channel, and I was able to get down to the shop today. I unfortunately could not make it last week, so I had 2 weeks worth of stuff to pick up this week. So as you can see, this is a huge stack, 2 weeks worth of comics. I've got a lot of reading to do, but fortunately, today is the first day of my Christmas vacation, so I am off until January 2nd, and I plan to dedicate a whole bunch of time to just reading comics, and I got to start with the stuff I got today. But first, we have got, I'll go ahead, I'm going to set them on this thing right here. Supergirl, number 8 by Sophia Campbell. I've been a big fan of this book since it came out. As I've said before, I think this is a really great all-ages book for DC to have. One that's a really good bridge between younger readers and more grown-up and mature readers. You know, very good, lighthearted book. You know, but without being very condescending to the reader. You know, kind of like we used to have back in the day, that kind of a bridge book or whatever, so to speak, is what I think Supergirl is really good for. Then we have Action Comics by Mark Waid. Along the same lines of Supergirl, I feel like this is the same good all ages book right here. Then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 13. This is the beginning of the new creative team coming on. Jason Aaron wrapped up with issue number 12. And as of 13, Jean Loon Yang, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, and I apologize, and Freddie Williams are the new creative team on. So it'll be interesting to see what direction they take them in. Then up next, we have Batman Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice, issue number 6. I really like this world that Andy Diggle has built up here, this Gotham by Gaslight world, and expanded it with like a Justice League for that era. It's been real good stuff, so I look forward to seeing how this turns out. Or at least the previous one was really good stuff. The previous one that Andy Diggle had wrote. So it's good to see him expanding that with Justice League. Then we have Cheetah and Cheshire, Rob the Justice League. This is issue 5, I believe 6-issue mini by Greg Rucka, Nicholas Scott on artwork. Greg Rucka, as someone who spent a lot of time writing Wonder Woman, he should have a hand on Cheetah and the characters. You know, he's not a rookie when it comes to working in the DC universe. And Nicholas Scott, who I was just talking about earlier this week, when I was reading the Titans book that she worked on, I feel is criminally underrated. One of the best artists out there that doesn't get nearly enough recognition. Then we have Spider-Man Noir, number 3 here by Eric Larson. And this is actually the Eric Larson variant cover right here. So Eric Larson back on Spider-Man, that was an easy sell for me. And now we have Daredevil and Punisher. As I was just telling the guy at the shop today, we went from Punisher not having any books to Punisher having a ton of books out there right now. So, and like I said, Jimmy Palmiotti's working on this one. There's no one that knows Punisher better than him. And then speaking of Punisher, we've got the Marvel Knights Punisher number 3 by Palmiotti and Dan Panosian. This is set outside of main continuity. This is set in the Marvel Knights realm. And again, like I said before, Jimmy Palmiotti on Punisher. Yes, please. Then we have JSA Year 1, number 2 by Jeff Lemire. And I can't remember his first name. Guidry is the artist. He worked on Uncanny X-Men for a little bit. But I enjoyed the first issue, or the first part of this Year 1, so it was easy to come back for part 2. And we have Amazing Spider-Man by Joe Kelly and Pepe Larraz. I've been a big fan of this book for a while now. Joe Kelly on Amazing Spider-Man. It's really good stuff, and I recommend it. And it got really, really good to me when it started getting set in outer space. So I've been really digging this outer space stuff with Spider-Man. And then we have Infernal Hulk #2 by Philip Kennedy Johnson. You know, he is just signed a exclusive deal with Marvel, so he's going to be working with them for quite a while. And the previous Hulk book he did was really good. The Hell Hunters miniseries he did, that was good as well. So just a natural fit. You know, I was glad to see Marvel give him that exclusive contract because he's a really talented writer. And I like all the stuff he's brought to the table so far. And him and Nick Klein, who's the artist, they have a really good relationship. They vibe on each other, and it's a really good pairing as far as writer, artist, and they've got good chemistry. So hopefully they keep that team together for quite a while. And also, I'd like to see them on other projects as well. So then we are into the Age of Revelation X-Men. These are the miniseries. Laura Kinney, Sabretooth by Erica Schultz. I was a big fan of Erica Schultz's work on the regular Laura Kinney book, so I decided to pick this one up. And like I said, she's got a great feel for the character. And before I got into Laura Kinney, Sabretooth, I was not familiar with Erica Schultz, but now she's a name I keep an eye out for, as I've said before, and she's been announced for Daredevil. So I think that will be good. I'll be looking forward to that as well. Then we have Unbreakable X-Men, written by Gail Simone. Gail Simone, she's the writer on the Uncanny X-Men book. So it only makes sense that she sticks with the characters and keeps it going, but just this time setting it in the Age of Revelation universe. Amazing Spider-Man by Jed MacKay. This is the book that I've said here that if you're looking for a book that is the closest to, like if you only had one book to read in the Age of Revelation, this one here, this one ties the most closest to the real meat of the storyline, so to speak. So it would be Amazing X-Men would be my recommendation for you to read. This right here gives you basically all the nuts and bolts of the big storyline. Then we have Venom, #252. Al Ewing has been on Venom for quite a while now, and he made the choice to have Mary Jane be the one who is working with the symbiote. And recently, MJ and the symbiote decided to change colors instead of being just a jet black symbiote to wear the colors of Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is so beloved from by the people, and they figured that if they wear the red and blue of Spider-Man, that they won't have to worry about so many of the people in New York City being afraid of them and hating them. So a fun read, not one of the top books of the week, but still a book I look forward to personally. Absolute Batman #15. I had swore off this book, but the guys at the shop, they talked me into it. So I told them that I was done with Absolute Batman a couple issues ago, but they told me that this issue here was so insane, I had to pick it up. So I took their word for it. I expect nothing but insanity in this issue here. So it'll be interesting to pick it up and see what I think of it, see if it's good enough to bring me back to Absolute Batman, so to speak. So then we have Ultimate Spider-Man #23 by Jonathan Hickman. And we have one more issue after this until everything wraps up with the Ultimate Universe coming to its natural conclusion. And I, for one, am ready for it to end, at least this book anyway. Then Transformers #27. Got a DNA cover here of Soundwave. And this is the third issue since Robert Kirkman and Dan Moore have taken over, and I like the direction that they've taken it in. A little bit less of an extreme direction than Daniel Warren Johnson had. A little bit, a little bit more story based, and Robert Kirkman's, and that's probably because Robert Kirkman's a stronger writer than Daniel Warren Johnson is, which he's no slouch, but definitely Daniel Warren Johnson brings energy through his artwork as opposed through his plotting and storytelling, or through that way that Robert Kirkman does. And then we have G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. This is the Larry Hama one, not to be confused with the Energon universe. Then we have Fantastic Four #6 by Ryan North, Humberto Ramos. There's not really much more I can say about this book. I say that every time I talk about it. It's one of the best books Marvel has out there, and it's definitely one of the best Fantastic Four runs that's been out there in a while. Terminator Metal #3 by Declan Shelvey. Another fun Terminator book. It's one of the Dynamite titles that did have volume 1, ran 10 or 12 issues. They got relaunched as a volume 2. I think the big difference is this one seems to have a little bit more of a linear storytelling, so to speak. It seems to be a little bit more of a coherent storyline as opposed to the previous one that it was just kind of felt like it was just jumping all over different points in time, and then they wrapped it up at the very end showing what the Skynet's big purpose is. This one seems to be going in a little slightly different direction. Batman #4. This is my favorite Batman book right here. I think it's the best Batman book on the market. I love what Matt Fraction's been doing. Jorge Jimenez, he draws Batman as we see right here. I love this picture of him. Zoom in a little bit. I love the way he portrays Batman in that picture. He really captures the Dark Knight detective feel of Batman. I like the blue cape and the gray bodysuit, just a real classic look that Jorge Jimenez is able to give Batman again. And already only 4 issues in, this is, like I said, this is my favorite Batman book on the shelf right now. Then we have Night Fight by Josh Williamson and Dan Mora. This is a 4-issue miniseries. It's spinning out of DCKO, which basically has Bruce Wayne Batman fighting a variety of Batmans from different multiverses. You have a Batman in which Tim Drake is Batman, Jason Todd was Batman, Dick Grayson, etc., and all their different, variants and spinoffs or whatever. And then, last but not least, we have Dreadnought Roar, Part 3 of 5. This is the G.I. Joe title that is set in the Energon universe. This is another Josh Williamson book. Basically, the Dreadnoughts are looking to kill Cobra Commander for the slights he did against them in his miniseries, and Duke is facing the task of saving Cobra Commander, getting him back to Joe headquarters so they can, so he's basically Duke is having to fight against Cobra Commander as his prisoner and keep the Dreadnoughts from killing him all at one time. So really good stuff. But all in all, we have a very big week here. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 books to read. And as I sit here and think about it, I think think I already picked this book up right here, the Daredevil Punisher book. It feels like I have. Sometimes I'll do that. I pick stuff up that I already had because there's so many different variants these days. It's easy to see a book and see a cover and not think you have it, but it's just a different, just a variant from a previous book. Yeah, I do have this one. I have to take this one back. Fortunately, my store is really good about taking stuff back. I don't get any money back, but I can swap it back out for store credit or whatever, so to speak. So, but I have got a lot of reading to do. In addition to this week's books, I've got a ton of stuff upstairs I got to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, get started reading. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.